Wow. I hope I stopped that. Welcome, world. This is TJ Morris, CT Radio with American Communications Online. Hope you can hear me just fine. I was amazed at that music. I didn't even know I picked it out. I've got Dr. Richard Allen Miller here, but Dr. Miller, stand by right now. I've got him on live, but I want to read a little something about him because I didn't get to last time. Jean, it was here last time, and she's not here right now, so I'm sure she'll be here in a minute. But I want to talk about this guy because he's a super personality. He's got such a following that I don't know why that music is going to act the way it is, but I guess it's my karma today with author and researcher Dr. Richard Allen Miller. He's going to review with us or for us how to be better metaphysicians and how to be better at being human and consciousness. He's worked in a secret world, one that I was once in, the Navy Intel Seal Corp through MRU in the late 60s, and he married a wonderful woman, one or two, I understand, that helped him become even a better person. But he's formerly of Seattle, but I believe he lives up north now. And in 1974, he founded Oak, but we're going to let him tell us what that is an abbreviation for or an acronym for, because now he lives in Grand Pass, Oregon. And he lectures and he writes and he researches. He's got a lot of books I want to read, but we got to get him out there. So we're going to talk a little bit about how our consciousness helps the supernatural and metaphysical with all of us. But he's also done a lot of writing, workshops, and diversified into national speaking on TV and radio. He's sort of a mentor for me because I didn't even know about him, and in the last couple of years he's helped me on some radio shows, not that many, but maybe 4 in the last 2 years, maybe 5. But the trick, he has some psychic abilities, but he's intelligent enough to have worked with people and been in the same room with Gene Dixon and Sybil Lake and James Hurtak. But he did some fantastic performances as a psychic and had skills. So he wound up writing about parapsychology, paraphysics, and metaphysics, but he has a very, very high mind. I guess one might say he is the actual Wizard of Oz, according to one of his, wives or of the past, one of his soulmates. But, you know, the fact is that he's been in business probably longer than most people are alive, and he was an entrepreneur, and he did own his own business, and he has a lot to tell us about what Kirlian photography, bioplasma, or corona discharge once was. And most of us that have been out in the New Age since the 80s, me included, went to some of these things that had those Kirlian photography equipped there. He also worked with very, very famous people, including David Bohm and gosh, so many people. Now my phone's going crazy for some reason. But he's here. My phone is absolutely driving me crazy. I don't know. The doctor, I guess all these people are calling wanting to talk to you. Y'all are going to have to just wait. Y'all just have to wait till last hour now. All calling in. All right, so experiments conducted under the organization that he founded is the one we're going to talk about. And he can go from 74 forward, but the thing is he's got so much that still needs to be written. I've asked if I can try to get a group together that we can come and have an annual meeting with our ACO Association and UFO Association, try to pull them all together. And I can't think of anybody better than this gentleman that is so intelligent that I would think that some of the things we use today are due to his papers from what I've read. And I spent a lot of time reading today because I've never really looked in depth at who he really was. So, Dr. Miller, I'm going to let you tell us in your own words more about yourself and the holographic paradigm and the theories that you helped work for. So, without further ado, you can mention your name and your books, but
how about do you want to start with the left? Jesus, how does one follow that crap? Okay, what would you like to know?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm excited. You know, I read your ESP paper, and you know I read the Wizard of Oz, and I really do love that show. That was the one that I grew up with. So I believe in you. See, I think you're the man behind the curtain for real. You're the real deal. So, but
I'm the guy that never. Well, let's start with this one. I've looked at what you want to do, and it has occurred to me that what is needed today is a verification of psychism, like a standardization like they did with hypnosis, where, you go through various training. Back in 1971, I was at Mission Control and did for Edgar Mitchell and the ESP experiments that we did with James Hurtak and others. And what I just back then, both hypnosis and ESP were considered pseudoscience. Today, hypnosis is a valuable tool for pain and or organizing and training the brain. We'll get there later, whatever, talking about that in terms of how important the depth of hypnosis is. Because when you go into altered states of consciousness, the rules of physics change. That's why paranormal phenomena exists. And with that said, ESP today is thinking with the gut, intuition, empath, being able to read another person. You have that information, but you're not sure whether you smelled it or you felt it or you. I feel that. We always refer to something in the five senses, and actually, man has more senses than that, and a lot more actually, and they have not actually been measured or dialogue, like named yet. That's what the evolution of consciousness is about. That's what the direction of physics is now about. I remember when psychology was considered a soft science, and today there are aspects of psychology that are now considered solid, sciences. And so with that said, this is where we are today, and I think your organization could be a certification where you take a psychic and you rate them by measuring their ability, and then offering training to improve that. Now, that's standard, Reichian test. I remember my mother was a real famous psychic back in the 30s in Seattle with my grandmother. They worked for the Seattle Police Department, and Dr. Rind came through and studied both my mother and grandmother, and they were rated. And there was a TV show called One Step Beyond, which was basically about my mother and my grandmother. They did it on different people, but it was about my mom and grandma. And so I grew up as a physicist wanting to understand how that might work. And now I have a mathematical expression for consciousness and believe that I can take and improve that. I did that for Navy SEALs. I started with SEAL Team 1 and trained them. And be intuitive, because when you're intuitive, your chances of survival go up about 400 times, literally. How does that work? I don't know. We have a model on how we think it works, and we've tested the model. I got challenged back in the 80s at Lessin in Minneapolis, and Dr. Ryan came in his laboratory. Well, he was dead by then, but his foundation for the study of man that moved across the street from Durham came in, and they brought in Sybil Leek and Jane Dixon, others, famous psychics, and I won it by 3 orders of magnitude, and I'm not a psychic. What I am is a physicist that has now got a model on how to train my mind's eye to be able to alternate, go into different universes, and change the movie.
Whoa, that is awesome. I go into other universes. I don't know that I changed the movie, but can we get into some details like helping others understand?
Yeah, well, let's start with consciousness as we understand it. Normal waking consciousness is actually considered by most advanced Aboriginal tribes as a hallucination. There are dream states that hold more content to reality than consciousness did. And the way I would prove that by saying I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't have believed it. That's why the laws of physics change every 20 years. We change our way of looking at something. And in just doing that, it changes the universe. Imagination is reality. There are no theory of everything. There are so many multiverses, and what I'm trying to do today is map where one universe starts and another one ends. We've done that with hypnosis, where we have an ontology of mystical states, and in this level of depth of hypnosis, your nose goes numb, and at this depth, you can walk like a duck, and in this one, you have no awareness at all, blah, blah, blah. You can do the same thing in mapping with drugs. Drugs, in the sense of it, is a form of magic. Whenever you change your state of consciousness, you are performing an act of magic. That's why I told you I was in an altered state. And when you learn how to navigate that, it's a whole new set of rules. It's very exciting.
Are you channeling right now?
Channeling is a very low. That's where consorting with demons. Which way? Are you inside or outside of circle when you allow possession? Yes and no. Say, you have to understand there are definitions now that we're going to have to be a little more articulate, like we do in physics.
Okay.
And in physics, you start with assumed truths and then definitions. And then you lead to testing and reproducibility and repeatability. To be able to consistently do that, guess, what's behind that card? How do you do that? Well, in hypnosis, there's an altered state of consciousness right there, not over here, not over there, right there, that will allow you to improve your ability in guessing 400 times. Just by going there, literally. Okay, that's trainable. So you're a psychic. Let's measure you, get a baseline, and then show you the protocols and have you test. Again, that's what a workshop does. What I do is I measure everybody when they come in. I show everybody how it works. And at the end of the day, I measure you again, and you tell me what happened.
And how long does that take so we can figure
this
out?
I do that in 8 hours. 8-hour workshop.
8 hours. Okay. An 8-hour day.
Well, that's it. That's where you start.
Day.
And then, of course, training your mind using hypnosis, where you're fine-tuning, because now you're only 20% into that state. You're not going to do as well as Chevy Chase and shooting that kilo.
Are we going to be training them now? Are you in a line with beta, alpha, theta, delta, sigma, and tau?
That's correct. Yes, you start with brain states in the occipital region of the cerebral cortex. That is correct. That is where it all starts, mind's eye. Once you have mind's eye, now you start to train it. That's why all saints in history have stressed the importance of training the mind, because you're wandering all over the place. I have watched a woman rip a car door off to save her daughter in a flaming automobile. Now, everybody would say, that's adrenaline. Yeah, well, how did the adrenaline make the bone in her body stronger than steel?
Huh.
And so there's, you can't get by this one. I'm going to be a physicist and measure it from that state and then go to the other side. That's why you have two brains. Think of it like an hourglass with the middle, the noodle that is Malcolm in the middle. That's the moment. And you've got religion and science. And you balance between the two, and something happens miraculously.
My daughter had
Look at the way you was speechless. Don't drop your mouth like that. It scares me. Just kidding.
Well, my daughter had a bleed out on the left side of her brain that the doctor showed me because she had passed out at home and her eyes rolled back. And, of course, the ER came to get her, the emergency, people. Janet was on one phone and then Tommy was on the other. They're both listening now. And I'm sure Janet will definitely want to be a part of this, and I just can't hear her. So apparently she came in after we got started, but I'm sure she'll come on when it's time.
I'm so very sorry, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to me to learn that she was there, and she came around, and we got pictures up with her eyes back open, and she cried, and she was in the ER, and then we had to make a decision. It was very hard because half of her was still there. Her right side was available to us, but she couldn't open her eyes much, and she couldn't talk, and she could only squeeze our hand at the last, but she knew we had to make the decision for her.
There
and I'm
are
sure she heard
protocols
us.
now in medicine to allow remapping of the brain functions. The brain has redundancy, and while, like cancer, I watched my little girl die of leukemia, and which was worse, radiation?
Well, she died of leukemia. My daughter died of leukemia. That's what my daughter had.
Mine had leukemia also, and I remember watching her when she was scared right at the last moment because she knew she was going to die. And I just told her, you know what I said to my daughter?
What?
I said, you're going to be really pissed when you realize that you woke up before I did.
Okay.
She laughed and passed on, and she's still here. Death and life are like a membrane of a drop of water hitting a pool of water. It is the hourglass or cavitation process between life and death, which is real. They're both the same. And in the Buddhist text, if you go into the Bordeaux, said, "Oh yes, I'm extremely well schooled." When I came out of graduate school, I got assaulted, but I'm gifted, and I have an eidetic memory. And the military outside, they were all over me like snake on jet. Old man DuPont. Well, I mean, really. He was at my high school graduation, and then later in Washington State University, where I graduated in physics. And he was there to take me back to DuPont, Wellington, and that's where I started. And the rest is history. I started at Delaware, then he put me through MIT, and then Princeton, and then I started working in the military. And after that, I taught at Evergreen. I was first faculty at Evergreen, teaching witchcraft, if you can imagine, in Olympia. And
witchcraft.
I got assaulted. By logic.
Janet and Tommy are live on the air, so I got to let them say hi since she's tingling. Janet, you want to say hi?
Hi, I'm getting another call. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I want you to say hi because I really want to get this down. But go ahead and introduce yourself, and I'll let Tommy say hi after you. Dr. Richard Miller.
Lessin, calling you from
please.
Valley, Hawaii. Can you?
Yeah, we can hear you, Janet. Well, Dr. Miller, I apologize, but I'm trying to get my two co-hosts.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Real
I was going to ask her how she spelled hi.
Hi or I?
Janet? Well, yeah. Yes or yes.
Okay.
Because
Janet?
when you go into these altered states, you will mess phones up. You will create your own problems because you're not dialoguing with yourself on what you should be doing. And so you shoot yourself in the foot.
Wow, so you can help us learn to focus? That's what I need to...
Well, that's a simple process. And you start by keeping a diary and start meditation. I don't care which kind, anything.
Okay.
You start with a program.
I have to go back to the basics.
Modify it for your own needs.
God, my ego's taking a big hit. I have to go back to the basics.
Well, I'm supposed to keep you on the telephone preoccupied until the Medic 1 unit gets to you. Just be careful.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so Janet, I'm going to put Janet, you're on mute because you're just too busy right now. Tommy, you want to say hi to Dr. Richard Miller just so you can be here for a moment? Hey, Tommy?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm going bald.
Down in... okay. Now,
unnatural causes.
Well, so am I. But what I was going to say is someday we could talk because I was involved with psychic testing in New York City Psychic Center, which was the first center to open up in the East Coast. I worked. My best friend was the top psychic, rated as #1 in the United States. I don't know if you remember a name, Don Lepore. He was the first person going public in the United States.
Dr. Stanley Krippner was my mentor. He's the one that introduced me to those people.
Okay.
Dr.
Well,
Stanley
I knew a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like Don Lepore, he was the one that going around the United States trying to channel Jesus through people that he worked with. And I had a seance in our house with him directly. Many things happened. It was an incredible time of my life. I got into witchcraft. I was a high priest. I had 13 people, and I learned about all the psychic abilities. And I mean, I spent many years doing that. Then I started going into ghost busting. It was just, everything just kept falling
Who are you going to call? Yeah. That's what I did for the military. I did all their paranormal studies. We knew about aliens back then, but we were more concerned with what Russia was doing. And actually, it wasn't Russia. Kalugin and all our psychic thing. That was Czechoslovakia. And that's where I got to meet Dr. Milan Riesel and debriefed him when he defected over to the U.S.
That's Janet talking.
Well,
been there, done that. Yeah. And I know that I don't know. What I do know is how I can move from here to there psychically. And I can demonstrate it on call at any time, and I'm not a psychic. Everybody can do it. I'm focused more on channeling or whatever. I studied Keith Milton Reinhardt of the Aquarian Foundation, Manager Foundation, and I brought in Jack Schwartz, some others that were very famous people. I'm the one that busted Uri Geller, caught him at SI, and that's where I did all of that. And I got to a place where I needed to find a way to reference what was going on and how to measure it so that we could change ourselves and do it at will.
So measuring is the key word here, isn't it, Doctor? Measuring, because doing it's one thing, but being able to teach it or measure it to teach others, that's the science of it, is it not?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. That was the first protocol that SEAL Team 1 used to choose who was going to be on the team. The SEALs teams today are different. It started out as SEAL Corporation out of Amherst. They hired me out of Anesthesiology. That's where I was working as a physicist. And then the rest is history. I worked under Dr. Carl Schleicher, a smoking man. I wrote the first episodes of X-Files because I did it. I wouldn't move to Hollywood. I didn't want to move to Hollywood, so they brought Carter in, and I acted as a consultant.
Well, you're blowing me away.
You talked about hypnosis. I learned hypnosis when I was 12 years old from Kreskin.
I went through Gilboa school. Yeah.
The amazing Kreskin. I don't know much about him other than he was on TV, right? And Janet's here typing.
I went to an army hypnotist when I was 14. I went to an army hypnotist when I was 14 who was working in the army, proving you can hypnotize people to do anything you want them to do. And, I mean, they say you can't, but it's really easy to do.
You don't make them. But you're a guy, you need consent, because even under hypnosis, if you don't want to do something, you won't. They can't make you do something. They can trick you, but they can't, trick you. Sleight of hand.
I proved that wrong when I was 14 years old. I had everybody in my neighborhood hypnotized. I could make them do anything I told them to do. I'm talking about walking out in the street.
Well, they were cooperating. They decided to go, but you have to do a contract with them to do that. And it's a very important thing to realize that most all hypnosis, it's a tool to allow you to do something. And you can use a hypnotist as a guide. But the bottom line is, if you don't want to do something, he can't make you do that. And that's that. And he can trick you, like sleight of hand, like, we're just going to have some fun up here on the stage and we're going to play together, right? Okay, I'm going to make you act like a duck. You want to act like a duck? That's a contract. And you make a contract, and if you agree, then you go. But you have freedom of choice, even in altered states of consciousness.
That's the way I believe, because I've seen them on these TED Talks recently. I like to watch these 15-minute TED Talks, and they make some of them do that, act like a duck or do ninja or things like that. But you're right, they have to at some level. Now, some of them show the eyes fluttering. Can you explain that? What's the difference?
Eye fluttering is like REM sleep. It is a certain level of alpha, which is distinguished from theta, where your eyes don't flicker, but something else does, your heart, whatever. That's mapping physical responses to the depth of hypnosis. And I, in my one book, have 102 different stages of measuring the body's response to the depth of hypnosis. That's called the ontology. Now, with that as a tool, so you know where you are, like in Cincinnati or wherever. How down are you? When you're listening to my voice, you're in a light state of hypnosis by definition. You're distinguishing my voice over the noises that are external. And the depth of it is how closely you're listening to my voice. Sleep now. Just kidding.
Doctor, can I just call you Dr. Rick? Do you mind?
No, just call me Rick. Or you can call me Al. Or you can call me late for dinner.
I like Dr. Bruce.
I love Bob
Dr.
Dylan, man.
I know you're a musician.
Everybody's got to serve somebody. That's the way I see it.
Well, Rick, let me ask you this. Could you please go over a lot of us, like Tommy and Janet and me, we don't have credentials, okay?
It isn't about credentials. It isn't who you are, but what you do that defines who you are. That's Batman. And that's the truth of it. Most people that have PhDs don't have a clue.
Well, that's what Elon Musk said. He says, I don't care about your degree. And I like that he said that, but he's in the news lately saying he's an alien. But, on behalf of Janet and Tommy and me,
like David Bowie, where he takes out one of the contacts at the end of the movie to show he felt Earth. Good luck with that.
Yeah, so he doesn't care if you have a degree or not. But, and you apparently don't care that, Janet has lots of computer, and she's done years as a therapist, 25 or 30 years with her husband. Tommy did all this study and, all of that, and has done musician-type work and magician-type work and, been on stage. And he's helped me, and Janet's helped me with, trying to get, for 7 years now, something going. But we've all had our lives.
Why don't you start? I think that there is a need. Do you remember when in the 90s when the psychic hotline came on? They were advertising all the radio stations, psychic hotline, call in questions, and they had psychic hotline. Well, when you called in, you don't know who you got. What I did was I set up a rating system for quality read. And once you have a rating, it has 4-star, 3-star, 1. Now you can train them to go further. You get a baseline. And everybody's different because everybody does their altered states differently. There are as many different religions as there are human beings. And you go to church, it's a metaphor, and you go to church for fellowship, to find people with common values and common moral codes of ethics, rules of conduct, to help reinforce your own goal. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, you talk to God your own way. How's that one?
That's good, Dr. Miller. Now,
Rick. Listen,
Rick.
Man, I'm not insecure about my credentials. What I am is, I get it. I understand how the process works, and that's where I come from. Now, that is who I am.
Janet, do you have a question for Dr. Miller? She thinks she's on mute. Don't you, Janet?
Well, she's in Hawaii in Hawaiian time. You know how that goes.
Yeah, Tommy is too. Well, okay. All right. Well, at this point, we want to foster relationships with all the people that I've known before, to all the people that are her colleagues, including her husband, Dr. I'll just put this in here. His name is Dr. Alexander Phillip, like Caesar, I guess. I don't know. Alexander Philip Lessin. He has a PhD in anthropology. Now,
I liked
been a
him,
big
by
help.
the way. When I met him
nice.
last week, I think, and he was on. We did a roundtable with radio, and I found him intelligent.
He's very intelligent, highly intelligent.
Yeah, liked him. Yes.
And trying to get people to talk to you, and then I hope I don't bother you, being that I have my Southern accent. I spent 20 years in Kentucky. I used to not have one at all when I traveled. It bothered me that people said I wasn't from here or there. Or sometimes I had a Russian accent, which I didn't get because I was not Russian or German, and I had a light understanding of how to speak Spanish and a little French from when I was on the slopes, and Italian. But can you help us with our culture and this communication of why now do consciousness let me go to, like, I love Tommy and Janet. I don't know why they're in my life, but I'm going to put them both on here and try one more time. Tommy, you've been a big help to me through 7 years coming on June. Do you have any idea why you're in my life? Because I want to ask Dr. Richard Allen Miller to give me his professional bona fide opinion. Tommy, would you say why you're in my life? Do you know why I'm in your life? I can't get him to play with me. Tommy, you're still on mute.
Okay. Meeting at a particular time frame. When things were all in balance, and then it got haywire. But basically, what you feel, what you experience, what you're aware of, probe it into your reality. And I was told in my lifetime, I'll meet every soul that I met in all my lifetimes in this lifetime that are here. So, and you're aware of being with me in another lifetime.
You
so
say,
that's part of the
yeah, I've got a comment on that. If time is not real, it is, according to St. Augustine and others, it's a duration of consciousness. It's the way you map information in your brain. And time is a construct of man like space is. We used to say in physics that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And then we discovered tunneling in solid-state physics, where event horizons, precursor waves, and all of a sudden space is curved, and we have wormholes and tunneling where, the shortest distance between here and there is not a straight line. Now, with that said, I can say if space, the shortest distance is not a straight line, it's curved, I can prove that the Earth's flat using specific mathematics. Now, the correct answer is the Earth flat or round? And the correct answer is yes, because it depends on how you choose to look at something as to what makes those laws of physics a reality.
Perceptions. We talk a lot about our brain and our mind.
That is correct. Your eyes are not seeing something. They're filtering it. You don't see ultraviolet or infrared. You're seeing the visible bandwidth. And with that said, if you could see in the higher bandwidths, you would see something different.
Well, looking at things different is called the viewpoint. But here's one viewpoint that could change everything. If I say...
I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't believed it.
Let me finish. If I say you're all in my dream, or I'm in your dream, you can't prove it isn't or it is.
Huh.
That was Stanley Krippner at Maimonides Dream Labs when he did Dream Telepathy book. And I can tell you, we're in each other's dreams all the time, and sometimes the military tries to use that as a weapon. Good luck with that. That's the way physics is. No matter what technology we develop, there's always two sides of it. Like the good Reverend Jackson, he says, is that fence over there, is that a white fence or a black fence? And you say, well, it's white. But you're making an assumption. If you can't see the other side of the fence, God can, but you can't. And who knows what it is?
Very interesting.
Where our man is now with assumed truths. And once you have that, then you start with definitions, like time. And we're going to measure everything in time. But a child Are we there yet? Experiences time quite differently than a senior citizen. And so, what is time? Well, it is a duration of going from one set of information to the next. It is a duration of consciousness. And so it's not real. It's a construct. And I have... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask Janet if she wanted
here.
to ask you. Okay, we tried to get you on twice, but we had to put you back off because you had people phoning people. Okay. Well, Janet, I want to discuss XYZ and other dimensions with Dr. Miller, and he's got a whole lot on things he can help us with. But is there anything that you personally want to ask him that will be part of this show that you feel we should address? Because I really want to get people to come to our annual event, and you're pretty much one of the main organizers. But I'm trying to get all the things that we can cover.
I wanted to address, you said, why are we in each other's lives, right?
Yes.
And,
yes.
Well, first of all, here on the Earth, we tend to travel in circles. So the New Age people, even though it's a big planet, we have a greater tendency to find each other because we might go to the events that are in common. So there's that level. But on the soul level, we tend to gather in soul families and soul groups, and there's an extended group. If you look at the Dr. Michael Newton Institute research on life between lives, they have 40,000 cases where people talk about where they go when they die in life between lives. So we're obviously in some kind of soul group, and I agree with that time is an illusion of this planet and this third dimension, because I have an awareness now because I've done a lot of work on myself, and I'm opening to my higher self and higher realms of my multidimensional self that simultaneously exists on many levels, dimensions, vibratory frequencies, however you symbol it. And it's true for all of us. We all have this multidimensional aspect of ourselves, and we can be in many places, even many bodies, we can be in shared lifetimes in this life, at the same time, right? So you might have your another aspect of yourself incarnated in China right now. And that was one of the things they found in the Michael Newton Institute research, that people can find their other selves and actually interact with them. So we have some cases where people did, in fact, do that. So why are we in each other's lives? And TJ, obviously we have a mission together, and that's why we chose to incarnate and come down here, and that's why we're doing 7 years of radio shows and talking to Tommy and
look at her smile. I can hear it in your voice, by the way. When you talk, Janet, you have a smile like that Hawaiian look. That I know. You say it.
Yeah. I'm a Hawaiian Holly. Yes.
Yes, she's a Holly.
Anyway, so what do we want to accomplish on this thing? I'm sorry, I'm tuning in. I had to deal with an emergency.
Yeah, I know that me and you and Tommy are coming up on 7 years working together, but we've all separated to do our own radio shows in our own areas, but we're still working with the larger consciousness system, and I've asked both of y'all to look at Tom Campbell. I don't know if Dr. Richard Allen Miller has had a chance. Have you heard about the theory of everything? And I'll let Janet.
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's called the big toe. The problem with toe is that makes a presumption that there are laws. And I can candidly say that since the beginning of physics and Isaac Newton, there has been no known law that's lasted longer than 20 years.
There you go.
Changed.
Finally.
We've gone from a quantum universe, now we have a holographic universe. How about the gravity? There's no such thing as gravity. The Earth sucks. How's that one? I like that graffiti. It's a matter of way of looking at something. And the way man looks at it differently than like a dolphin is with memes. We have the way we group information. That's John Bohm. Different similarities and similar differences in the way we categorize something. But they're broken down into constructs. And those constructs are what open doors and close others. A Christian sitting there as a solid Christian, would it be able to see two aliens walk in the door?
Probably
that
not.
was then what the bleep. when the Indians could not say the ship out in the ocean because they had no concept of a ship. It was the shaman, the outside the box guy, that was able, hey, there's something out there. That's how it works. And basically, our construct says, I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't believed it. Now, once you do that, you realize that belief systems are tools, and you change them like you would a pair of clothing. And that was another protocol.
Yeah, can I interject something in there? So it's like when they were starting to do heart surgery, they didn't work until somebody believed that they worked, and then they started to work, right?
There it is. Right? It's a placebo.
So now let's look at that, because that's what I've been saying. And Facebook brought it to a new light, and I said, my life is a result of my likes. Like it's like there was an episode of Orville where they had a like button on everybody's lapel, so to speak, on your chest, and when somebody said something you liked it, and in person, right? So if you met them in person, and if you got too many dislikes, then you got called in and you were on trial, and they could put you to death if you were such a dislikable person. It was a very interesting episode. I highly recommend it, but I think that our lives are a series of likes, and we are in a certain place because we like things. And that's why we have to be careful what we like and dislike and what we put our energy to, because we're actually co-creating it. Like you said, you set the meme, and the meme establishes a new protocol, and it seems like it does go in cycles. TJ and I were talking about
it goes downhill from there. That's correct, yes. Yeah, the problem is now, today, we're just discovering that psychedelics, like mushrooms and other things like that, heal depression. How's that work? Well, the argument is it heals you on a spiritual level, and it proliferates down into the physical. That puts placebo at 60% rather than allotropic medicines at 10. Now, I can tell you.
Say that again. I kind of didn't quite get that. You're saying that
I know, that's why you play this tape over and over again, because most people do not get what I have to say the first time around.
What did you just say? Let's break that down.
Today, we're using psychedelic mushrooms to heal you on a spiritual level, and that proliferates down into the physical level, and that's the distinction of where psychic or levels of consciousness take over from allotropic medicine, and now placebo is up to 60% because of your belief system. And that's why I believe it's a tool. And when the belief isn't working, I take the sweater off. It's too hot to wear right now. You don't have to throw that sweater away. In Christianity, whatever your belief system is, you put it away nicely and bring it out when it's necessary for use. It's cold. It's a metaphor. Everything is in metaphor. That's Gregory Bateson.
So when we find ourselves playing victims in our reality, we really are empowered, and we can change the channel.
Absolutely. That is what I have discovered. And by the way, I am the physicist that did not blow himself up. Jack Parsons started JPL and was part of OTO. I am also part of OTO. Right out of the gate, I was going to say, when I came out of grad school, I got assaulted by Bohemian Grove, and when I was at Harvard, Jesus, Skull and Bones was over me like snake on. It was terrible. And do I want to join these lodges? Why would I want to join a lodge that doesn't know goat turds from pork and beans? Most things like the Republican Party that has that creepy camp in Texas has no clue. I'm a legacy. My great-grandfather was Rudolf Steiner's lodge master. I'm a Swiss Mason. And I can tell you that I had to armor up to protect myself. I studied with Gershom Scholem. I did 6 years of Hermetic philosophy, and I'm a Hermetic Kabbalist. I speak Old Hebrew and Greek. I do my own translations of the Bible. And that's that. Lodges are like religions. They're there. The American lodges are mostly philanthropy, and then they have their inner lodge that are doing creepy, and I have no idea, and I don't care about that. You start talking about these older systems using adrenocortisone and other kinds of drinking blood like Dracula to make yourself young, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You make yourself young by fixing your telomerase. And Dean Ward, He's Surgeon General for the Marine Corps, has a book out called Biological Aging Mechanisms, Clinical Approach, and his conclusions at the end of that book is that every single process in aging that we understand is reversible. Everyone. We're talking about C60 with exclusion zone water in it, that kind of thing now. We're just discovering that how to do it. You know, I remember when Pearson and Shaw started the life extension. Good luck with that. You know how to make yourself young. Laugh more. There it is, just like that.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Well, Dr.
A good
Miller,
thing or a bad thing? It's both things, actually. That's like that fence. Is it white or black? You don't know. The correct answer is yes. What color do you want it to be?
well, you can help us with our own consciousness if people choose to
Well,
play
I can
the
give
game
you
of
a
life.
guide on how I did it. I'll show you how I did it. You'll eventually develop your own system. That's the way it usually always works. Everybody has an inner dialogue. The way they do their mind's eye, it's unique. And we all start off in the same rules. I got reading, writing, arithmetic, the 4 R's. They're not even R's, and we say it that way. You know, education is for learning. Study is when you integrate it and make it yours. There's a difference. One is a process. Yes. Simon says you can go only halfway to the door. When you focus on the door, by that protocol, you're never going to make it, and you miss the purpose of the journey.
Well, with supernatural and metaphysical topics, would call me in to
you're breaking up on your phone. I don't know what happened there, but I didn't catch what you said. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'll have to call in on my other phone then. I'm sorry. I hate that. I was using something that made it easier.
Get even.
Okay. What I will do is call in because I'm breaking up. That's so sad. All right. Let me go. But what I wanted to know, if you can hear me, is I would like to know how we can incorporate teaching people something that's not already out there on the internet from every Tom, Dick, or Harry on open source information and share it with others.
Eyeball to eyeball. When you're in the physical presence of somebody, something different happens than the virtual, texting and zombie land. When you're in presence of somebody, eyeball to eyeball, something more happens. That's where you start. The internet is really good for having a big dictionary and other people's ideas, but you still have to go internal to determine what's really true and what's not. It's not out there, it's inside. I guess she went on a different phone. That's the problem with 5G, man. Yeah, I tell you, 5G is, my telephone is a landline, and that technology is less than 2G. And why? It's mostly base, and the high-end bandwidths are clipped, and that's where I get my clarity, is in the higher. Something here somewhere. You can understand it. We're going down here in the lower frequency band.
Can you hear me?
And that's the problem with 5G, is that all the technology now,
I can hear
higher
you.
bandwidth, higher. Yes, we can. We're there yet.
Okay. Because we're back on. So, TJ, you're back.
Okay, thank you.
She's back.
She's back. I forgot what I was going to ask you.
Live from New York.
Oh.
So can you hear me?
It's Friday night.
Oh, wow.
We're just going to have to take you girls out and shoot you. That's all there is to it, man. That's crazy.
You only hear one of me?
I can hear you, TJ. Can you hear me? I only hear one of you.
Oh, okay.
How
go ahead.
Rosanna Dana put it? Never mind.
Okay, so moving right along, I'm not technically inclined. Tommy's on, Janet's on, I'm on, and my phone's blinking. Great. All right, so consciousness. let's talk about how we can be cooperative and not in conflict. Conflict I find easy. Cooperating is the hardest thing I've ever done with other people. Do you have a clue, Dr. Miller, how to get people to work together? You did.
Okay, I'm going to quote Aleister Crowley. How's this one? Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will. Now, the Greek had 3 words for love: eros, philo, and agape. There are different levels of love, brotherly love, carnal love, blah, 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 sex, that kind of thing. Now, with that said, Crowley said, the love of will, your purpose here, which is thelema or telema, is the highest form of love there is. And that's why it's love is the law, love under will. If you are open to help anyone you can, like you asked me to do your book, but my purpose is to finish my books. And so that's what I'm going to do first. And so love is the law, love under will, my purpose. Now that's the problem, is that most people don't know why they're here. And that's the distinction between intent, which actually happens at the end of the day, and purpose, why you're really here. And the bottom line is third generation D-Wave technology can predict accurately what you're going to do 28 minutes before you do, because it comes from algorithms based on wounding. And most of us come from a place of wounding. And what you're trying to do is turn a wound into an asset or a unique blessing. And the way you do that is you containerize it like anger. When I'm angry, that is a perfect time to wash my floor. I get a cleaner floor than anybody in the and you use your wounds as assets, because that is what makes you uniquely different than me.
Dr. Miller, I have a question about the algorithms that you just mentioned, that they can predict what we're going to do because of algorithms. I think my theory is that people that are very psychic are actually picking up a lot of the subtle clues. They may not be reading minds per se, although we do have people that can read minds, but they're on a subconscious level picking up the subtle clues, like this algorithm.
Pheromone. They probably smelled it. They pheromone, body language. We call it NLP. There's all kinds of different inputs that we're not conscious of.
Right.
That's
and
where you
they're able
start.
to predict things from that. So a lot of things I get that way. It's like you can extrapolate and take it 10 steps down the line, and you're going to know where this is going, because it's like absolute logic or something. And then I go, well, that's psychic, but is that psychic or have I just accessed my own supercomputer that's, we have our little human computer that's in our avatar, but I think we're continually connected to the supercomputer of consciousness of the all of existence and eternity, right?
The other 9/10 of your cerebral cortex. Did you know that the dolphin? Yeah, did you know that the dolphin actually has a larger cerebral cortex than man, and that mammal is actually, in fact, firing 60% of it? You want to know who God is? It's Orca, but he's not our God. But that mammal, that cetacean, is capable of going to universes men can't even fathom. Now, if you're doing your purpose, you're not in conflict with anything. That's when Crowley said, when you're doing your true will, none shall say nay. Now, that means basically that supercomputer can't see you because you're in total harmony with what's going on. There's no karma being created, like crashing against one wall to the next as a train wreck. It's a metaphor. I have learned, and now I'm studying, and it's like Tai Chi. You don't learn Tai Chi. You study it because it's a process, and it may not be. How did Steve Gaskins put it? In Monday night class, he drew the circle up on the blackboard, and he said, it may not be a perfect circle, but it's a perfect whatever it is. Everything
Can you tell me,
is in its own place.
Everything is in its own place.
I'm sorry?
Can you tell us, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I didn't get what you said, that's all.
Okay, I was going to ask you which book, in order to get on a learning curve with all my people, especially my neophytes.
Start with my
ASP,
Forms of Self-Hypnosis. That's the first book. You want to start in the journey toward the study of consciousness. There's 3 books in that series. I'm sorry?
Where do we get it? Because we were going to talk about the problem with our books.
Amazon. I'm in war with Amazon right now. Amazon is selling my book on Amazon Prime, and they didn't get it from me, and I'm not getting any royalties. Who's doing that? And
but you have your bank account attached, right? Your bank account.
What you want to do is go to my website. Yeah, just go to my website, richardallenmiller.com. I have a sale on that book. So richardallenmiller.com, ALAN, and my ESP book starts a foundation with some assumed truths and definitions, and then I have some theorems and postulates. And I used those and got challenged in 1974 by Gene Dixon and others, and I won that thing by 3 orders of magnitude of the best psychics. And I'm not a psychic. I'm a physicist that wants to understand how that process might work from the physical plane point of view. Doesn't mean it's a physical plane thing, but once I have the construct of a protocol, now I can follow that and then fine-tune it. And that's what we do. And everybody's psychic. It's just some people hang out here more than there. And when you're here, your ability on guessing is better than when you're there. And so you'd be able to navigate your mind, training it, and now you've got a tool toward using for purpose. And that's what it's about, discovery.
Your books, I'll just be honest with you, your shows that you've been on in my 7-year period have blown everybody out of the water. I don't care who, Janet or me or anybody else's book.
Well, I'm giving you the physics.
Your numbers blow everybody away. People listen.
Yeah.
People listen to you. They listen to your radio shows more than anybody else I've ever had. So why are you seeing your books on Amazon just blown away,
Because there are criminals in this world, and I'm a starving artist. That's why. I don't know. Because they can, like a dog. Why does it lick its balls? Well, because it can. I don't know. What is happening is that when I try to call Amazon, I get routed into the Philippines. And then again, we got a language thing. It's interesting because I also speak Tagalog, Palau, and Mandarin 1. I'm eidetic memory. I speak languages and do code. And so with that said, I've had enough of this nonsense, and I'm a David that couldn't pick up a big enough rock to drop that Amazon. Truthfully. I'm with a Navy SEAL, and I can't do it. How am I going to do that? I don't know yet. Stay tuned, Stone Little 11. When they do go, it will be hell to pay because I grew up in Seattle, and how dare them?
Well, if your routing number, and I have to admit, I get a lot more sales on my Lulu account than I do Amazon, so I'm sort of leery of that too.
I used to do 4 to 1, my website and Amazon. Amazon used to be sell 4 times my books. I have pulled my books from Amazon. Won't have anything to do with them until I get this organized straight right with them. My guess it isn't Amazon itself, but probably some creepy little cell within Amazon, like the military, that's for hire. That's my guess.
Oh, I see. Well, Janet's been getting her books, and Tommy's been getting his books, I assume, that what little books we sell, that we're getting those. Well, this is something I want to do, Dr. Miller, is have the Authors Book Club organization where we choose to sell, to those that are in our radio group or in our ACO club, I want to market these books, the ones that I prefer to sell because I like the people, the authors, and like I said, you get more numbers. I get more listeners. I put your name first. I changed the name of the show just because, and put your name so I could get more hits, but not that I get any money for it. I don't.
Well, your TJ name instead of Theresa made me think you were probably at one time a truck driver. Come on.
Well, you want to know how much money?
My nickname was Magic. Believe it or not, I got assigned.
Was that with a C or a K?
A J-I-C, believe it or not.
Yeah, see, magic with a C is sleight of hand. Magic with a K is sleight of mind.
Oh, learn something new every day, don't we?
Well, I guess it's a metaphor. What I'm trying to do is give you an image in your mind's eye so that you can make it yours. Once you see it there, that's what makes it real, not my physics.
M-A-J-I-C-K, will that work? Or does it have to be
M-A-G-I-C-K?
K.
Yeah. I was down in San Francisco, not San Francisco, I was in Hollywood, and someone took me to the Magic Castle, and the owner came up, before the show, and, I see you have a little magic pendulum on your lapel there. What is that? How does that relate to me? And I said, well, you're sleight of hand, I'm sleight of mind. His eyes glazed over, he slept now, and I made him walk like a duck. I'm kidding.
I would believe you. I would totally believe you.
Well, it's a philosophy. It is a pathworking. It's basically how to change the movie. My book on tarot that I'm writing right now is titled The Magical and Ritual Use of Metaphor, Archetypal Gods in Daily Living. And there are 22 chapters. And I'm suggesting that the Greek had in their pantheon 22 stories in the big city. And you're either possessed, one story, or you're complexed, more than one story. And if you're more than one story, each story has an ending. Is that how you want it to end? And if that's no, then you go in and change the movie. And that's called pathworking.
Wow. So you're making some new policy for us tarot readers. So the 22 you're using the major, only major arcana?
I'm trying to advance the art. And the Greek, their technology was metaphor. And archetypal gods like Psyche at the Well of Souls, that has a story where Persephone, whatever, has to go down into Hades once a year, say drugs, whatever, that metaphor. And once you know what storyboard is going on, each one has an ending. And now you have a reason to want to go in. And instead of predicting the future, what you're doing is predicting the potential and changing it with a storyboard. Hoorah.
And so that's why we use the tarot, those of us that have carried the archetypes.
Because I do use them. There's your chart, your wheel, whatever. And
most of your metaphysicians. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, most of your metaphysicians do follow the tarot, the 22 major. Now, the 56, are you going to deal with the 56 as well? Or should
I'm going to work with the major. I'm going to deal with arcana. I'm going to deal with the storyboards, the paths that you're talking about here, 7 of clubs, whatever. That is pathworking. That's how you go from here to there.
So you're going to say that the 56 are strictly paths and the 4 suits.
Well,
I wondered how you get into that.
I'm changing. I speak Old Hebrew, and I understand what the tree of life is. Did you know that the tree of life actually shows hierarchy of gods? You've got Kether, which is man's god, and then above that, it's the veils of Isis, Ein Sof, and then Sof Ur. And it means everybody's got to serve somebody. There are hierarchies of metaphor.
So are you going to go with the Jewish tree of life? Or you're going with the 22? Okay, so you are using the Jewish.
Azadi is what I am. I'm not Hebrew. I'm Azadi. And I understand pathworking. And to the level that I studied with Gershom Scholem for 6 years. I mean, I got in New York City College. And I have a sense now of how to use this. I'm 75 years old. I've been doing it since I came out of college.
Well, let's talk about that, because this will really help my metaphysicians, knowing if you will make us, and I've made one of my originals, but I didn't like it. If you will really do that, I will help promote or pitch or sell or whatever, because I know it'll be the updated real deal on the Arcana and on your paths,
I have
your pitches.
12 volumes that I've written on pathworking called the Holistic Kabbalah, and I start with Malkuth, the Earth. Now, we have several ways of looking at the universe. We started with a quantum universe where everything's broken down into individual particles. But the big problem in physics is it a wave or is it a particle? And the correct answer again
is both.
Yes.
Isn't it? It depends on the location exactly where you're looking. They figured that out without you right there where they split.
That was what your friend
said. That's a slit theory. The slit theory, right?
You want to change it as appropriate, like a belief system. It's only useful when it's cold. You don't want to wear a sweater in summer. It's a metaphor again.
Let's look at that. Perception for the slit theory for our quantum mechanics. And most people will know what we're talking about because that's John Q. Public's average level of intelligence now. And everybody's talking about, consciousness.
But there are different levels of each one, like Malkuth, in terms of you start with physical, emotional, intellectual, archetypal plane, and then you have 4 more planes if you work with Timothy Leary's neurologic circuits. And basically what I've done is I've arbitrarily broken it into 8 levels in terms of information and resolution of information rather than space and time. For example, if you have a physical plane, that's IQ. EQ, emotional plane, is more information, how you feel about the physical plane. It's the way information folds down into or out of itself. And that's why we say EQ is better than IQ, because it has more information. And basically, now information isn't what you think it is either. There's a theorem that says if you have enough information to ask a coherent question, you have enough information to answer it. It is in the framing
if you have the
of
question,
where
you
the
have
information
the
lies.
Is that what you're saying?
And so you already have the answer
you have the
if
answer.
you look at it from a holographic system, which is more appropriate model for this kind of work at this moment. Later, I'm certain they'll come up with something even better, because that's how it works.
Since you're an anesthesiologist, because you're so brilliant as a physicist, this is good. So if you will use your anesthesiology knowledge for hypnotizing as well as using it for the slit theory, let's look at quantum mechanics. But you understand that you used hypnotic suggestion in anesthesiology, and some of our friends that do that. One of our Bob
you can also
here,
use a foot hammer. There's all different levels of anesthesia. You can get them with a big hammer. That'll knock them out. There's different levels of consciousness. Yeah, well, the whole thing is not to be so serious. You have to be limber and have fun.
You have to laugh.
Actually, if you want to try it, we're going to talk the 2 paths, the primary paths from the male and female part of the tree going to God are the hermit and the lovers. You either do it androgynously or you have a reflected mate in the external world. And the path that crosses them forms that triangle through the Dot and the Sea of Karamzin, chaos is humor. And that's because Dot, the missing Sephiroth, is knowledge through wisdom. It's a temporary place. It's not real. Knowledge is illusion, according to Castaneda, and the Nagwal, the unspeakable, that which cannot be known. You can only experience it.
Well, that's like saying the Kundalini rises and you have a 2-second orgasm with that, right? It's oxymoron.
What you want to have is louder and longer ones. That's where Tantra comes in. Hold the resonance.
Well, that's where Janet and Sasha specialize in Tantra Temple in Hawaii.
Sex magic.
But they don't do
Mass of the Holy Ghost. There it is.
Yeah, still the 3XYZ in quantum mechanics.
So I'm going to throw in a 4th one. We'll have a film crew, and then we'll call it.
Beta Alpha Theta. XYZ
well,
Beta Alpha Theta.
Delta. I actually, using biofeedback back in the 70s, which was developed at the University of Washington, so it all first started, Bainbridge Island. It was called, what was it? J&J Electronics. What he did is made a first single-gain amplifier. Now we had a low-noise amplifier, so we could measure microvolts with precision. Once that happened...
Were you doing that before Delta, before MRIs? You had that down?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Holy
I did Manager Foundation. I'm the man that set that up. I'm that
Magnetic
old.
resonating imaging. MRI, magnetic resonating imaging.
Physics. And what's your gut?
Okay.
Your gut is a hierarchy.
No, I'm
of organisms.
shocked, but you were one of the big ones way back in the back. I know that. I mean, I do, but I'm just going, oh my God, because you were able to bring esoterics into medicine in your mind at what, 16 or something? When did you get all this? You had the big aha.
You're going to do it for yourself. I'll just be the guide. It's over
well,
there.
Well, that's what we're going to need.
Cow pies. Don't go over there. Don't go over there. There's cow pies over there. Mushrooms
well,
cow pies, by the way. So.
I don't know. I don't have to do mushroom. Yeah. Well, let's cross over. Let's cross over to that other universe because of out of body, near death experiences. How we explain that in today's overall soul consciousness.
That's Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. I have doctorate in Jungian psychotherapy. I'm an imaginal psychologist under James Hillman. I studied with him also. And now we're going to talk about the distinction of crossing over to the other side. At the moment of death, there's a 5-gram weight loss in the body. And that is basically microtubules with structured water in it. And that computer goes back into the multiverse and is enough to account for maybe 600 million lives, because the difference between structured water and exclusion zone to be distinguished from gallium and arsenic, gallium arsenide in the forbidden zone, which is your checksum error, is 6 zeros more efficient. Water, memory and water. And so with that said, there's your incarnation part. You can pull that out with hypnosis. You can take someone to a past life. You can even take them to a future life, if you'd like. That's how I did my certification.
So where do we get the God theory?
When I became a certified hypnotherapist, and most people like to, in hypnosis, what you're doing is you're using a David Grove technology where you take someone back to when a terrible event occurred and you reframe it, and so that you have a different relationship to it now. And what most people in hypnosis do for their certification, I don't want to do that. Let's go back to a past life. My teacher decided, how about we go into a future life? The problem was, when he did that with me, I have an eidetic memory. I didn't forget. So I know what's going to happen, just like the Dalai Lama. Kidding. I'm just kidding.
Did you do the future circle, the wheel of life? Did you go ahead and use the Buddhist circle of life, or non-life, or no God?
If you're going to
how
the
did you use the language?
The Tibetan Book of the Dead, they talk about the last choice man has at the moment of death. And you have a choice. And it's described in the Bordeaux Fidel. You have the tunnel of light with all your friends waving at you, and they come on in, the letter sign, or you have the blue light. And most people want to go see their old dog that they lost. That sounds like a birth canal to me. Tunnel of light, metaphor. And so you have that choice. And I want to get off the wheel. I was raised Shaolin. My parents were Indochina theater during the war, and I grew up in the Philippines. That's where I learned how to box. And
so this is your last life. This is your number 9.
Stay tuned on that. I'm already dead. I'm actually talking to the other side. No, I
haven't got my master level. But you're a master shaman.
Level. But a master, a true living master, and if you want to go into the Torah, they will say there are 50 living Christs on earth at any given moment, but only 2 of them are for man, and to find a true master like I did, Charan Singh. I'm a Satsangi. When he looked me in the eye and chose me for initiation into Satmat, he said at the moment of my death that he personally would be there to take me across the abyss. I'm done.
Whoa.
I've already done. I've got these books I'm writing. I've done my path, and it will be footprints for the next person to pick up where I left off. And that's that. I've had enough.
Would you leave a
I
tarot
meditate every
for
day.
the babies? Could you please leave a tarot for the babies? We need a 2020. In 2020, you hear what I'm saying? A metaphor, oxymoron. A 2020 in 2020 by Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Your own tarot set. And there's companies out there that make them for like next to nothing. They'll put them out there, just like sell them in the American card, whatever, right? You understand what I'm saying?
I'm going to have a very interesting book on magical and ritual use of metaphor, because there's some artists in San Antonio that each chose a card for their business card and designed their own card, and each one of those will be a little caveat in there. And these artists in San Antonio on the boardwalk, they're crazy. So I thought I'd do that.
Well, that's when we were doing our CIA agents. That's some of my training. You know that, right? Down there on the boardwalk in San Antonio. Okay, so working with all the CIA and all this stuff, this is everybody. This is like Psych 101 for agents.
I was Navy intelligence. There's a difference, because Army intelligence was staring at goats 10 years later than us, and the wrong goat died.
Were they CID though? Were they CID or
no,
were they DIA, or who
MRU.
did you work with?
I was.
Explain
Corp.
that to everybody.
What, MRU?
Well, but we're getting back down to earth, so people will gravitate to the Capricorn in me. Okay,
sign. Well, see, Navy has always ruled the waves in technology.
I'm Navy. You know that. I'm Navy. I'm smiling. I'm U.S. Navy. Okay. And
yeah,
you
well,
are too,
I'm not
right?
Navy. I'm Navy intelligence. I was a hired gun because they didn't have anybody like me in the Navy, and that's what they do. Navy Intel. I'm a GS 18.
18, that's as high as you can go.
Yes, I'm a two-star general equivalent. I run my bunker, maritime law. I don't report to anybody above me now.
OMG, folks, this is a major master of life in many realities and in many disciplines. And so it's so funny how you're so personable. You're just like...
funny, peculiar.
No, you're reachable. Like David Wilcox got it where you can't even get to him in cyberspace anymore. You used to could get to him through emails or Facebook and stuff, and now it's all one way. You know how they say push me or pull me?
Well, that's because Bigfoot's after him, and
push me messages. I'm sorry, we're digressing, folks.
Yeah.
But they may appreciate that because high-level, intel and then magic and putting it all together.
I am a human being. I'm nothing more and nothing less. I am you.
You're nuts and bolts.
And you are me.
Nuts and bolts.
And I am the walrus.
I love it that way, though. It's exciting. I get excited. Janet and Tommy, they love to do this, too, and the synchronism of having you with us in a certain place at a certain time. Janet's been trying to teach me this for 7 years, that she needs me to show up and be in human form and let her draw
50%. That's
others.
The deal. You have to show up.
All right.
That's correct.
Janet, it's your turn. I evoked you.
You have to do the work. If you want to... how did God put it? You got to play if you want me to pay.
Well, now Tommy's been here talking about soul. But, we got to get on the same page with all the languages, and all of us teach different languages. And Tommy was brought up in Eckankar. Are you familiar with a lot of his studies?
That's Paul Twitchell. That is soul travel. That was Paul Twitchell studied under Samhain thing. And I'm the grandson. I studied under the grandson. Soul travel. That is what I do. I go to
gosh, you even studied it? Tommy.
Yes, I study it. That's the correct word. That is the correct word, yes.
You studied Eckankar through the grandson.
I studied Satmai, which is where Paul Twitchell got it. I went to the best school
I read
for
that. That's right. I read that. I did read that. And Tommy probably does.
Yeah. And I was initiated on that alone, just like when Great Master Sharon saying, I understand the new teacher is even more accessible. I remember when my teacher, Sharon saying, was asked, are aliens real? And his response was, it doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do about that. What you can do is meditate. Perfect answer.
Well, what about some of us do see that? We've seen the man's reverse technology, and we have seen from the old, before Christ existed, technology.
Oh, yeah, well, previous epochs. Okay, I've seen the Buddhists, the Tibetan Buddhists, they have these big, long horns. And they blow these horns in a geometric alignment, and it so compresses the air with the sound, setting up resonance, that it will actually float large boulders that you can push with a finger. It compresses the air using sound. And sound is in the Bible with the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, relating sound to words and how to say the name of God correctly. Now, that's what I say.
They carry that from Sanmat to Hebrew, right? But Sanmat goes back Hebrew, with the Hindu caste and the Hindus and Muslims. But let's talk about how that, in the vernacular of Hindi, are the southern group with the archaic Marathi. How do you perceive that we should talk about the soul, the Atma, to the divine principle of Atma?
So in my book, The Modern Alchemist, on personal transformation, I studied a 14th century alchemist, a Christian mystic, because Christianity is what most of us communicate, and I then related that to the Jungian psychology in terms of, the definitions. That's what the book, The Modern Alchemist, is about. Basically, I'm interested in getting the concept of the meaning where the Father and the Son meet with the angel on the mount. And
let's talk about the 13th. Let's look at it on the timeline, because Sanmat is 13th century. Okay, Indian subcontinent. So go back to Mu.
Soul
if you go
and
back
spirit
to
within matter is where it starts in Christian mysticism, where you have soul and spirit. It's the stag and the unicorn in the forest, and you have the stag and the unicorn. One is mortal, one is immortal, and then in the forest. And that's the Christian way of looking at it in terms of Jungian psychotherapy and the current directions of imaginal psychology. The
unicorn the Atma? Is the soul the Atma? The Atma soul, is that the unicorn or
what
the stag?
What that soul part is, the physical metal of the soul is probably structured water in a microtubule known in Chinese mysticism as qi. I've watched.
Well, how would you explain that to the? Let's talk about the. All right, I'll let you finish that, Cassius Clay. But I've got this thing going in my head, this buzz, because this way we can bring in not only Jungian and Sanmat and the 13th and the Christian and the 14th.
It's all there. What you have to do is sift through, and then it speaks to you. And truth, it's different for each of us. It's not my truth.
Well, because you go inward, right? Theologically, you go inward.
Unlike Molnar, the truth is not out there; it's in here. That's
inward.
The truth of it. Yeah,
so the loving devotion to your own God, whatever your God or your Atma, your soul,
your God,
to divine principle, Pamatma.
Yeah, let me clarify. Your God is the other 9 cents of your cerebral cortex, and that's only halfway to God. And that's your God. And that's your higher self, your angel, whatever, knowledge and conversation, da-da-da. What you want to do is have dialogue with that and realize that's only halfway. And God is that which cannot be known. You can experience
Would the karma and dharma come into Sanmat in the spiritual movement back in the 13th century?
I did. I taught at Crotona. I mean, I did Indra. I used to deal with... I have been everywhere, and I am a scientist that knows I don't know. And because knowledge is illusion.
Well, we have egalitarian understanding, and so we have qualitative distinctions. But yeah, you're a major bodhisattva, I guess you're a bodhisattva. How's that? In some you're a bodhisattva.
John Curtis Gowan at Northridge developed an ontology of mystical states, and that's in my second book, Power Tools for the 21st Century. These were the 8 protocols I developed for Navy SEAL to make them essentially beyond human. I mean, you're moving them to the next level. Like, for example, I taught the SEAL, one chapter is on breath control. Now, you can control your perception of time using breath control. What that does is make your martial arts. What that does is let your martial arts become paranormal because you have the precision of Tai Chi. And
that's based on bhakti, right?
I've done the work.
Based on
if I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do it. You know.
That's devotion, bhakti, right?
Well, you got definitions, and you call it tomato. I'll call it tomato.
So that's Gnostics too. We can say similar movements were Gnostics because you do all of them, don't you? You've studied all the various paths to the top of the mountain.
I have been a seeker since I came out of the crib, and one of the blessings I was given was that I was having dialogue with my inner self when I was a kid in the crib.
Oh, my gosh. I had a playmate on the outside. I think it was an extraterrestrial child of mine from somewhere else, but I don't know. But we're going to write that ET book. I wish you would help us, but you don't. How do you explain ET?
Would you like to meet one?
Always. I do that all the time.
How can aliens not be real? That's a good way to do it. If imagination is real, how can aliens not be real?
Well, we see physical reality as well, but I say that we've always been, we always will be. And when I ask about God, they said God has always been. So that's the deepest philosophy I got off planet when I was physically working in and out of government, in and out of uniform, those that we're not allowed to talk about, but I did. So
I have been to Boomlight, and I have met Krill. I did that.
I know.
I have no idea
Let's talk
means.
about that.
Well, no, wait a minute.
Janet
back
and
up.
Tommy were like this.
I can't.
That's right. Who's Krill? Who's Krill?
Yeah, there you go.
Tell our listeners who.
K-R-I-L.
What does that mean?
Okay. And I'm not going to say it was Roswell, just for a moment. When that alien craft crashed, they found 2 dead aliens and 1 dying alien. There were 3 of them. And when the dying alien died, they did an autopsy. And what happened was a 4th alien appeared to Harry Truman and said, you know, we want the body back because we're going to reanimate. And so we took Krill and studied him at Broomlake level 8. I've done it right down there, 8th floor down, level 8. And I don't know what happened because I have no memory of the event after it occurred. I remember I was down there and my briefing was sitting on the table with a bunch of top secret documents. Top secret documents, and I had 1 hour. And I started sifting through them, reading what I can, when the door opened. When the door opened, what happened next? What happened next?
Sorry, that was Tommy. I muted him.
Please mute.
I can't understand what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Sorry, we had
I'm sorry.
I was asking to please mute.
Yeah.
So I'm going to mute myself while you're talking. Go ahead.
Tommy mute.
Krill.
Yeah, Krill.
I was trying to. I didn't know what happened. Are you asking questions or what? What's going on?
All right, go back to 51 and Krill.
Right,
okay. Tommy just had to get off and come back on, but he's back on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Krill.
When the
51.
door. Would you like me to? Okay, I'm trying to do it again. When the door opened, I saw this entity, very thin. It was about 7.5 feet tall, long neck. It didn't have any apparent clothing or anything, but I couldn't see any markings on the body, so it might have been a thin suit. I don't know. But what happened was that's when it was feminine, talked in my head, and I didn't understand that until later when I did my studies with Alan Frey on synthetic telepathy. That's in the 0.3 to 3 gigahertz microwave band. And this entity started talking to me. I felt peace. and then no more memory, and that's it. And I was there motionless for, I think they said 42 minutes or something like that, and then I spent the next half a year in various forms of debriefing, trying to figure out what happened, because the entity looked at me, and I don't know what. It's like you're trying to remember an actor's name in a movie, and you know it, but you can't get there from here, and you're just struggling, and you try to fake it on the internet by coming up with keywords to see if it'll pop out, and I can't get there yet. I don't know.
Were you in slow motion? Did he slow you down to 3 hertz?
Shade.
Because you. Oh, it's she. Oh, it's a female.
It was a shade. It felt feminine.
Oh, okay.
Like
you were going by your
voice.
emotions. Emotions.
Whoa. Let me try to do it best I can. It felt feminine. It was peaceful, and I had no fear. I didn't feel threatened in any way. And then I have no more memory. It's like it's just chopped, like a dream you can't remember anymore. You know what happened? You kind of think you can't really even fit about a tenth or and I don't know what happened after that. What did happen is that I'm now doing what I'm doing for men, and I consider my path extremely important. I'm not any more important than anyone else, because none of us get out of here until you get off the couch and do your part. And that's the way it works, because we're all part of something. And each one of us has a role to play. And it isn't that someone's more important than another. Each of us are necessary for the whole thing to happen. And time has nothing to do with it. And I'm antsy and want to get off this creepy place. Hopefully it'll speed up the process. Because are we there yet? I'm like a little brat kid. I want out of here. I don't want to be here.
Well, I did work with some of those people too, and I call them beings because they're beings. Some may be a little different.
Yeah. What I did for the military was mostly all the weird paranormal stuff. And I've seen things. I have no idea what they mean. I did the Orient Vortex. I had an interferometer at 20,000 feet, and there it is, bending light. Now, what bends light at 20,000 feet? Well, black hole, mini black hole. So maybe that's what this got. That's Captain Cathay in the Australian Air Force and his harmonic 33. I have no idea. I caught a lot of flies from the military. My mouth open in disbelief. Had no idea what I was looking at. And yet, here we are. I've seen shapeshifters. There are other life forms on this earth, just like in the movie Bright. Little tick like fairies and orgs and but they're Middle Earth. And I remember it was what was his name? R.D.L. Lang in 1896 when he wrote The Secret Commonwealth of Elf, Faun, and Fairy. And that was a scientific treatise that is possibly the first scientific attempt to understand alternate universes that are cohabitating with us. Stephen Bronsky, what is it? What's his name? He played James Bond.
Your brain's going faster than your tongue.
Well, this guy did a movie called Nomads, and there's life forms that cohabitate with us, like a Bigfoot or a chupacabra or something of that nature, like Skinwalker Ranch. That's what they would do. They would send me in to a place like that to try to figure out what's happening. We never figured it out, but we got more data and moved the thing forward. I have seen material that came from a UFO crash. It was electrophoretic. What I did at the University of Chicago, I fired a 50 caliber cannon at it, and watched it fold around the bowl and then flow back out in basic form. And I went down with an electron microscope to look for lattice damage. and it was more than 100 times stronger than diamond. There was no damage. Now, today, we didn't have anything like that back then. Today, we talk about carbon being in fullerene form, what we call C60 molecules that will, in fact, be that strong. But back then, and here's an object. Now, did that come from an alien or previous epoch? And the Nazis used to think of Hellboy going into previous technologies. Because like the Buddhist horn, just using sound, they could lift large objects.
Oh, yeah, the sound. Now, you brought up the word krill. Now, there's some people, K-R-I-L-L or K-R-L-L?
No, K-R-I-L, yeah.
K-R-I-L.
Because it's an abbreviation or anagram or something. I don't know what the name means. I wasn't.
Okay.
I didn't do alien studies. I basically did paranormal studies for more.
Right. We've got people doing alien studies now. We call it alienology, and we're going to try to set that up with your help if you'll be the lead investigator. Because you did speak krill.
I will be a consultant. I'll be honored. I'm 75 years old. I got other fish to fry.
You don't want to do alienology. All right, I get it. That's okay. But you are fitting as the lead investigator with krill because that's the most popular underground. Now, the second is the gray, and I have a story for that. But Tommy,
this is
the guy on here
that I saw. This is what they call a tall gray. She's 7.5 feet tall. She had this long neck. And the alien that they did autopsy was a short, stubby, fat. Wasn't
did you
like
see it, or did you see cut up?
Wasn't a small gray. I understand the small grays are clones. And, I don't know.
My husband said they were both because their planet got blown up. But for some reason, with all the people that we worked with that were human, that worked with the grays, okay, there were, of course, tall and there's all kind of grays like there's all kind of humans. So, but the ones that I have knowledge of or firsthand account with my husband working with, yes, they could travel. And the way he said it, Dr. Rick or Dr. Miller, was that they were expendable because they were light, but they knew it. So I don't know if it's an agreement we made with the Greys because I have a past life as a Grey, and that
I don't know
makes
either.
me
What What I do know is
can we put ourselves in
the
containers?
they can reanimate it.
Reanimate, contain. Yes. Now the ones that's why I wanted to get to you to the soul level, because on the ET level we were getting to. My husband wouldn't talk about God, and he wouldn't talk about anything to do with Christ or the stories that were on the planet, okay? Now, this is with people that, come and go. They're 3D ETs. They're in flesh and bone, but they can also, why I guess you could say, why, TJ, or Theresa, how do you know it was an ET? Well, they could get in my head, and they were assigned to me because of the government, okay? I'd asked for somebody I could keep up with, and they sent me after my husband. Well, my husband had the DNA registry to go on board a ship, and he didn't know why. But Reagan thought he picked him. So these are the things I want to ask you to help me with, is when we think we're working with extraterrestrials with the CIA or the ETs or the naval intelligence, we think that the government and the computer's picking us, but yet when you go on board a ship, the ship automatically recognizes your DNA. What is that about? Did the ETs pick us? My husband's dead, by the way, Rick, so he can't talk to me about it.
How does it work?
I'm still here.
Technology has many faces, and really, in the 1800s, aliens versus cowboys, breaker 1-7, come on, that would have looked like witchcraft back then.
I understand that. So you're going back to consciousness, and it all boils down to it's all information. Are you going back to the big toe with Tom Campbell, that it's all information?
Oh no, man! Listen. We didn't originate here on Earth. I can prove that. Mars, when we. There's
why do we always say Mars? That's right there. Why do we do that? We always say the same words. It's all in everybody's consciousness. And is that because we don't know any better? Is it because we don't know any better? That's our model, our prototypes?
The correct answer is, the correct answer is yes, all of the above.
Okay, so it is just because we're all dumbed
It's
down
all
and we don't know
true.
how to talk.
Anything you could imagine. How did Merlin put it? Oh, yeah, I love T.H. White. When Merlin said to Arthur, anything not specifically forbidden is mandatory. That means if it's possible, you can count on it.
All right, so that's the simplest way to know what consciousness relies on. Information.
Say it this way. Imagination is reality.
And that was
Maslow's
greatest addition.
That God has given us, actually, blessings are tools in a toolbox. And we have purposefully avoided them, laws, drugs, because drugs are like basically simulating neurotransmitter invasion, and your body freaks out. When you take LSD, that LSD, lysergic acid diethylmine, that's broken down and a salt in your urine within 20 minutes of ingestion. And the 20 hours of hallucinations is all from your own brain chemistry of lysergic acid amide. And it's
how
a
does that
lookalike.
affect the DMT, dimethyl, what is that, DMT, dimethyl?
Dimethyltryptamine. Now, there are many forms of dimethyltryptamine. Yeah, okay. This is where I'm hanging out now with my magic. I am learning how, with my mind's eye, to release these drugs in my mind purposefully and with intent. And the dimethyltryptamine, you've got 5-alpha dimethyltryptamine, you've got N-hyphen dimethyltryptamine. That one is the chill that runs up and down your spine. And Sri Aurobindo and Gopai Krishna talk about that. It's a light beam. It actually is in the visible light region. And if you align your bike just right, you can stimulate the pineal gland. And that will set up a resonant cavity oscillation in the neural cavity. And now an adult like me can regenerate nerve tissue rather than just glial cell. And with that said, I don't have any nerve damage anymore.
Oh, good. I need to know how to do that because you told me last time I could
Robert
heal
Becker and I wrote a technical paper on how to do that in Clinic 7 at the University of Washington.
Need that.
Yeah,
I need to read it and fix
myself. Yeah.
Dr. Miller.
You're actually
Dr. Miller, can you
don't need anything. You want things and need things. Like when you're out of toilet paper, that's a need, man. Just kidding.
Dr. Miller.
I can hear you, Janet.
Dr. Miller.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I interject? I wanted to talk to you about the LSD psychotherapy. My husband studied extensively with Dr. John Mack and Stan Groff, and they did holotropic breathwork training for years. And as you're aware of, back earlier in time, things like ecstasy, they were legal, and they were used in therapy. And LSD was, of course, given to Stan Groff over in Czechoslovakia in the 50s by the government to test on his psychiatric patients in the mental institutions. He was the head of their whole facility over there, and then he came to the United States somewhere in the 50s or 60s and asked for asylum, was granted asylum, and then they did the Spring Grove experiments, and this back with Timothy Leary and Terence McKenna and all those things. And so actually what they found is that LSD was very effective, and if it's facilitated, not just for recreation.
What LSD does, lysergic acid amide does, it is the neurotransmitter that connects one dot with another, the aha drug. And connecting dots is arbitrary. And so it's a critical tool in use in changing the movie.
Right.
So they just changed the movie.
I took my first hit of LSD in 1964 when it was still legal at Harvard. Timothy Leary came all the way out, talked to my mother. What they did is they did a study of the brightest children in America. They wanted to know what would happen if they gave LSD to a genius. And Jack Sarfatti was chosen up in New York. He was in New York in the Bay area.
Was there?
Yeah.
Jack Sarfatti was there with you when it was legal.
Yeah.
It was legal at Harvard.
Yes.
All right.
And yes. Now, moving forward, what happened was I was up. We were in 1964. I was 20 years old, physicist, nerd, at Washington State University, and we were up at Deception Pass, Hurricane Ridge. I'm blown out of my mind. Looking straight down into Puget Sound, about 2,000 feet down. Colors boiling back. And Larry leaned over and he said, "Wouldn't it be neat to jump?" That's when I discovered Aldous Huxley and his Doors of Perception. And I discovered how vast inner space was inside, way more than the universe. And with that said, that's why from that moment on, all of my work has dealt with the mind as a physicist. I wanted to know how it works.
So you were saying that the LSD helps you. The LSD helps. See, so they knew it was very effective in therapy, especially when you track people. It works on
just like psychedelics
almost
are now.
Everybody. But he said it helps you change the program. So people get stuck in their room.
It connects dots.
Society,
in other words, you make one dot related to another dot. The other thing like surgic acid amide. And connecting those dots, the aha, seeing how one thing works to the next, is arbitrary. And that's why I say imagination is a reality.
Right. And so now they're opening up trials again, and they're starting to bring it back as a
see what happens. Man's going to go have another day.
What's that?
It's the integration of it. This was a very important role in his varieties of psychedelic expression. Larry always said, set and setting. Why? Because, the Buddhists have 4 reasons for getting high, and only one of them is for recreation and escape.
Mm-hmm.
The other 3 are for going somewhere else.
What are they? Yes.
Well, you'll have to read the book.
For traveling.
I'm just kidding. What time is it, by the way? Have we gone over?
No, we're almost done. 3:48. I'm in Maui. So 12 more minutes.
Good. Well, it's been a pleasure, by the way. Just to give you a sense of it, imagine 8 hours with me teaching you hypnosis. What I do is the first thing you do in the class, the first thing in the morning, I measure your ESP. I just run a standard ESP test on you. Then I go to discuss what I discovered at Mission Control and how I integrated it with Dr. Milan Riesel's work at Czechoslovakia, and give a series of protocols. Then I take you through guided images and hypnosis. And at the end of the day, I measure your ESP again. You tell me how that works.
Well, I'd like to have it.
It works. And I had one friend win a lottery. Now, here's the bad news. If you use it, I once did change the movie for $50,000, and guess what? I got the $50,000, but I didn't get it the way I wanted. I had a truck run over me, and I got it from medical expenses.
Wow.
In other words, you should always use this advancement for spiritual development, because anything else is going to be coming from a place of wounding. Money is, get a grip. That's not important. Yeah, it's
personal gain.
It doesn't matter what it costs. Then the penalty for, exchange, whatever, is worth it. And that's the correct way to
help
approach
others. But I've never made a penny at anything I've done in a long, long time, like 30 years ago. I was in Hawaii when I was doing readings, getting paid for it. The government snapped me up, though, meaning black. So one thing we have in common is we both lost a daughter to leukemia. We both talked to aliens. We've both been to Area 51. What else do we have in common? We have a lot in common. I want to see the synchronicities.
I'm not a female, but I have a very strong feminine inner circle. So that's what, when you find attraction in someone else, it's usually because that person is reflecting the inner part of you. That's what
it's the part
the
I want
lovers
more of.
over the hermit mean in the Tree of Life. And that's what you do. And that way, so love comes and goes. Friendships are the highest form of love I've ever experienced.
Well, that's why I love Tommy. Dr.
Tommy.
I've never met him.
Well, yeah, Eros, Philo, and Agape. Yeah, there they are. They're good.
I love Tommy, but he was a person in my archetype, in my Tarot deck. He was one of the little ETs that came with me from, at one time, another universe to this one. And we knew about this one, and we stopped at, well, we sort of crashed in Tibet at the top of the mountain where they fly the flags. And a little, I left a Yeti there.
You know that ET may not be real. That ET, yeah, that ET may be your inner masculine projection. And
so you're telling me I'm an ET with a masculine projection?
Mm-hmm. That's how
can I be an ET?
Close Encounters, that's what it's about.
What?
John Mack was one of my students at Harvard, teaching, I taught metaphysics at the graduate level for 11 years. I have 15 audiobooks, 15 different courses I taught on metaphysics at Harvard. John Mack took my third course, I think it was in 1992, when he started his alien abduction studies. And the very important news I gave him was, you know, you're not going to prove the existence of God. What you can do is treat the group trauma. And that's what I'm seeing now, is an archetypal trauma in targeted individuals, alien abductions, da-da-da-da-da.
Okay. We got soul mission trauma. Well, the thing is, what good is it? I know this is in one of my past lives, but what good is it now? I don't even know Tommy. I mean, I've known him 7 years.
Yeah, the one thing you can do is try to integrate it. You don't make the same mistake again. How's that one for?
Well,
that's the difference between learning something and studying it, where you integrate it, make it yours.
Well, my husband's dead. He was one of the other guy. It was Tommy and Tommy. They both called
He's still
Tommy.
there with you.
Yes.
You feel him all the time.
Yeah, I guess so. All right,
well,
so
yeah,
you can help with the soul memories. The soul memories, but okay, so this needs to be all this metaphysical woo-woo stuff that nobody believes in. Now, I'm tending to think that Tommy Campbell...
Belief is arbitrary. Belief is arbitrary. Beliefs are arbitrary. If you'd been born in Iraq, you would not be a Christian. So there it is.
I'm a Christian.
And with that said, that means a belief can be used as a tool.
I'm the strangest believer in reincarnation and Christian, and I don't know everything else. I seem to be everything. I may have all the past lives. So we're going to write that book.
And future lives.
Now,
You've still got some probably ahead. Me, I probably am not going to get out of here either, but I'm in jail. Been a bad boy. But I really...
Honestly, I know you from somewhere. Because I fell in love with you when I first met you. So I don't know what is it? I don't have to have sex with people.
Yeah, you can love platonically, no time. But I'm kidding.
No touching.
Nah, listen.
No touching.
Tina Turner's had it got the best. Well, what's love got to do with it? You know, I gotta tell you, man. We all should love each other deeply, unless it deters you from your true path. And if that's so, that's precedence over everything. And it's very clear for me what I'm to do. Maybe that's what the encounter had to do. I don't know. What I do know is why I'm here and what I have to do before I exit. And I've got miles to go before I sleep.
All right. Well, let me ask you this, because this is going to be a great show. I'm so happy because we shared a lot of information. Although you're on everybody's show out there. I don't know how you book one a night or 10 a day or something, but you're on all these radio shows, folks. Find Dr. Rick Alan Miller back here, please. Rick Alan Miller. We need some help getting the rest of his manuscripts done, and he's got a couple of things out there for making money and giving him money and go to Patreon.
I'm a 9-volume encyclopedia on alternative agriculture. I'm a farmer. I'm your MacGyver for the military. I was a polymath.
Well,
I do.
I want to ask you. Go ahead. You do, and then I'm going to ask you a question. Go ahead. Finish that thought.
Well, no, I'm a polymath. I have a number of doctorates. I do a number of things. Unrelated, but they all actually are. Basically, I'm doing urban survival skill workshops and sustainable lifeboats for congressmen, bunkers. That's what I do.
Polymeth, say that word and tell everybody what it means real quick. I want to ask you about the men in black that came to visit you.
You mean do I have a little factor that's going to make you forget everything?
Uh-huh. Are you going to tell me what's a polymeth? And then we'll talk about men in black.
You know, I don't know what it is. I did coach when those NASA women were doing Fortran. I was still in high school. My science fair projects were 3 years later on the Man of Florida, which is to measure the water on Mars. That's why old man DuPont was at my high school graduation, and then picked me up. I graduated from college.
I was talking about Mars too, and I got inducted when I was 15 years old into the government. So
Mars. Here's one for you. Mars, for the smaller planet, literally has more water on it than Earth does. Yeah. How's that one feel?
Well, also the gravity is different, 60-40, right? So, well, let me ask you this. Why did the guys come and tell you that you can't be working on the couple of things your wife wrote about in your wizard, just so you can put that to – because the men in black came and found me when I was doing
what I did, I'm an armchair physicist now, and what I did was I explained what happened in 9/11 in physics. And when you have a 1,017-foot steel beam fall, building 7, fall in free fall, dissolve, get turned into there's only one thing in the universe that is not spent, airline fuel. It's a fluorine neutron fusion bomb. And here's how it works. And I wrote the physics of it, and there were some people that tried to stop me. And once I wrote it, then it was out. They left me alone, and then next. And that's what I do. I figure things out. And 9/11 was a inside job. It absolutely was. It was a Mossad weapon that was given to the U.S. The Mossad knew about it. I don't think they did it. And what they had was they needed a body count to get a terrorism bill through Congress.
Oh,
yeah,
welcome to Baracha, honey. Now we've got a chance.
Yeah, they had it already. They had it already to sign. It was already developed. They had it already to sign.
Yeah, we had, the post office in Oklahoma. We had the USS Cole, etc. But it wasn't enough, and they had to have a body count. And so they killed a bunch of people to get a terrorism bill through. And I am outraged. And our government is the only thing our government has ever done right is the U.S. Postal Service, and they're trying to mess that up now. I'll tell you.
Yeah, they better
I'm opinionated, and I know I don't know what really happened. And here's the bad news: we probably will never really know. Was Las Vegas? What would happen in Las Vegas? Well, yes. There's agendas where there are all kinds of confabulations and agendas where everybody jumped on the bandwagon. Helicopters shooting kids, and over here, it's a fence green or blue, yes.
That was our summer experiment to let all the military show up. I don't know. What do you think it was?
So, you never know. I've been to Antarctica. I saw the Nazi base there. I saw a Viking base from 14th century. Where's that in our history books?
Is that remote viewing?
I'm sorry?
Did you physically remote viewing, or did you physically go there?
I physically was there. I was working under an anthropologist doing some other studies, and I was the physicist that did the light. How does the light work? It's bioluminescence. That will be in a book I have ready to go called Fluke Central on the work I did with MRU. And basically, it's an algae that grows on the wall and is bioluminescent. Go figure.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. They had that. Didn't they have that in the pyramids?
Listen, I'm not sure what the pyramids are or who built them. I've got theories, but I don't know. And that's what I said about the bad news. We probably will never really know.
You don't think some of us already know? We just don't talk about it?
Well, the truth is different for each of us, and it's internal. It's that's where the real truth is. It's not out there. You think that your New York Times is going to give you the truth, man? Oh, man, they're wrong. It's all it's plausible deniability. Let's do it that way. Yeah, there it is. No more Watergate and the boys from Brazil. It's unfortunate.
Well, can we have you back next month, Dr. Richard Allen Miller, with all your books, and I want to get your other books printed. Tell me how. Send everybody to Patreon. Is it Richard Allen or Dr.
RichardAllenMiller.com.
What about Richard Allen Miller on Patreon to be patrons?
I'm not on Patreon. I am RichardAllenMiller.com. I've got my own secure server. I've been hacked.
Okay.
I'm good. Yeah. I use GoFundMe, I use Patreon, but I'm RichardAllenMiller.com, and that's where you'll find my books. And if you buy my books from me, everything is autographed. Every book.
All right. Well, I'm going to want some, but I have to wait till I get paid on the 3rd. But how much will $50 get me? Very many?
Yes.
What? Maybe one or two?
What?
Right. So,
$50? I have you can get 4 or 5 books. Because that's special for I group books in series. I have a lot of books. I've been writing a long time, and lots more where that came from.
All right. Well, I want to set up a group of people that support what we do, and I want you to get that new tarot so I can sell it. Use it first.
Yeah, you'll enjoy that. I've got a draft I can send you. It's called The Magical and Ritual Use of Metaphor.
That's your tarot deck already?
In daily living.
Who's doing the artwork?
I work with the Greek pantheon.
Have you got a graphic artist? Have you got a graphic artist?
Yes, I have. I try to use local artwork on all my books. Power Tools has got some really good tarot cards for openings in each chapter. I have 8 chapters, each one dealing with a neurologic circuit, including your dimethyltryptamine.
Well, I'm going to have to hold them.
I just want to say one final thing on it. Ayahuasca is not dimethyltryptamine. Ayahuasca is Church and some of the others that have, some have dimethyltryptamine in it, some do not. And so I'm going to tell you what can come of it, a war of who's got the right formula. How spiritual can that be? No, dimethyltryptamine and Rick Strassman's work is quite different than the Churches and all this crap that's going on today.
Yeah, but ayahuasca originally, now you know this, Doctor, and I haven't been down there. I don't know if you've been down there, but let's say in South America.
I don't do that anymore. I don't need psychological.
Do we do 2 leaves? Do we do 2 leaves plus the metaphysical part? Is the part you're saying is missing?
Yes, you have to prep so that you can assimilate it. You can, if you don't integrate that lesson or the experience, what good is it?
All right, so the ladies that mix the 2 leaves plus the spit plus the special shaman.
So they're just falling spirit again. You have a relationship. That's right.
A spirit.
It's called integration. And that's why Larry called it, set and setting.
But are you putting that in your book? Are you pro or con ayahuasca? You believe doing it naturally, or you don't care? However you got to go, whatever you're called.
Correct answer is yes.
Yeah, that's
crabgrass.
Yeah,
I just got some crabgrass out here. I'll make my own dimethyltryptamine.
However you got to get there.
We're out of time.
I have that written down as how to make your own drugs. I did those just like I wrote magical and ritual use of herbs and the magical and ritual use of aphrodisiacs. I did those books 45 years ago. Hoorah.
I wonder why they didn't pick those up.
Well, they're traditions. My aphrodisiac book has sold 297,000 copies to date.
Good.
Simon and Schuster are now bootlegging it on Amazon. I'm not getting my royalties anymore. They figured I must be dead and they can get away with it. I don't know.
Well, let's do something about that. Let's get some people on.
Let's go to war. Let's take them down. Yeah.
Call Newton Schwartz in Houston, Texas. He's good. It's got to be money in it, though.
Well, that's how Cindy Lauper.
Right?
You know, money changes everything. That's a bunch of bullshit. Phooey. That's false crap. What is important is your purpose. That's where.
Well, you've got a good purpose, and you've made a lot of stuff for us to get, and that's exciting. So I want to get your new tarot deck. I want to market it in our group, or at least I do personally. I think it'd be a lot better than mine because you have so much more study of anthology, theology, psychology, metaphysics, and how you lived it in this reality.
You embarrass me. That isn't what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to. I want to leave a footprint so you write a better book than me.
I don't know that I could do that, Dr. Miller, to be honest with you, but I will do an ET book with Janet.
Well, you can't do it if you say it because you're programming yourself not to. You know, when you say something like that, I can't do that. I think that's pointing to you're justifying your move, and you can do anything you want to. And how did John Lennon put it? Everything works out in the end. If things aren't working out, not yet the end.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad you're in my life. I love you like agape love. I know, not touching, no touching.
Thank you, by the way. Yeah.
You tell Julie I said hi. She is a beautiful.
I will. Yeah. I'm very blessed. You know, she was my handler, and we fell in love. No, they sent me a first grade school teacher for a handler. That's about right.
Janet. Janet. Julie's his handler.
I'm here.
Well, yeah, Julie's his handler. But now, was Iona your handler with the CIA?
No, Iona and I we were married 18 years. Julie and I are best friends right now. We're just getting to know each other. We've been, 5 years, 6 years, 5.5 years right now. Iona and I, love comes and goes. It's the friendships that last forever. That's why you marry them, because they're your friends.
I love that. Well, Tommy, come on over here and I'll marry you, honey.
What I do is I take that love and I try to redirect it so you'll be a better student. Because
he's been with a girl forever.
Yeah.
Are you going to make me a better student? Would you? That'd be great. Would you really?
I'm sorry?
Will you make me a better student? That would be great. I need to study. I want to get higher up again with my ET stuff. We got to do another show because we're out of time. But
well, David Bowie isn't around anymore, but he would made a good alien, I'll tell you that. With one eye different than the other, get a grip. That was great. You know, The Man Who Fell to Earth. That is a classic movie worthy. And
we're going to come back and talk about movies, aren't we? Because we need you to talk about all that stuff you never did get around to. Remember the last time you were going to tell us about the new movies and where we were going in movie land? Because you write scripts and TV and X-Files and all that.
You say, once you see it at the movie, that's why they call it Hollywood. It's at the wand made with Holly. And listen, Hollywood, and if she could, I'll tell you, once the public can see it in their mind's eye, that's what makes it then happen. Replicators couldn't happen until Star Trek. Now we have a 3D printer.
This is true. So can we have you back?
Start with imagination.
Yes. You're going to come back. I know you are. We love you, and we need you in our club as a consultant, I guess. But I want you to be at least 60 people.
Okay.
But you're going to be teaching in Oregon your own people, and then go down the rafter.
I live in the free state of Jefferson, actually. You're a bunker.
But you're going to have that, but we're going to try to do workshops. Janet and I are working on trying to get where we can afford you to come over and teach everybody.
I'd be inexpensive, and actually, at the end of the day, I will improve everybody's ability in extrasensory perception. And then it's a practice, and you just keep getting finer tuning, getting closer to the door. Simon says you can only go halfway.
Well, that's why the ETs are training us, for God's sake. Everybody's trying to see them, but they don't get, they want to know the mechanics The government wants to know if they've got any weapons.
I'm probably going to make some videos like I did on survival and basics training for the living off the grid. Yeah.
No, I want.
I'm a survivalist, so that's. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, those are the ones that want to stay on the planet. But what about the ones going out in space? Can you make some of those too with your ET friends? I've got ET friends.
Well, I will call that one into the out of.
Entropy. Is that it? Entropy? Is that in your vocabulary? Is it entropy?
Well, it's all about communication. You're already out in space. You just don't know it yet.
Well, I know that because I usually live out there. It's very hard for me to come down here. So anyway,
how did they put it in Egypt? She had it because she knew it. Nice being with you.
You're too much. I love you. I can't wait to meet you. But, I'm going to be the student having to sit there and pay you to teach me. So we're just going to have to figure out what kind of setting you prefer.
I take left answers. I'm good.
Well, maybe Julia helps set up a classroom environment for us online.
No, she has a bunch of dogs. She'll sick on you. You better be careful.
Oh, I love dogs. I love dogs.
She carries a concealed weapon. I always like women that are armed. I love it.
That's the kind of women you'll have. You and your survival techniques. Well, I know you teach those classes up there. I want to get you online, but Janet's going to work on that, okay? Getting us where we're all teaching.
Yeah, you can call me in a couple of
workshops.
days. I'm behind right now. The weekend's coming on. I needed a break. That's when you called earlier, and I was out in the woods. That's what I do. I walk in the woods. So I spend a lot of time in the woods.
So get some stumps, and we'll go do like we did people synergistically involved. I had to go to his ranch. I paid $5,000, Rick. Seriously, to go to a guy's ranch
I'm not
and
cheap.
walk with
I'm
the cows.
inexpensive.
To walk with the cows. It was the head people synergistically involved PSI seminars out of Hawaii. Janet and I can tell you all about it in our book. All right. Well, I love you, and I can't wait to learn from you, and I really just want to be in your presence. So tell Julie, if she only knew what she had, in essence, if she only knew.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very blessed in many ways. I'm very lucky.
Love you.
Yeah.
Janet, any last words? Janet's the one that
I'm good.
Okay, can you hear me? I think we're complete, but welcome, and we'll have you back another time. Can't wait.
Cool.
You promise?
Thank you.
Exciting. Yeah. Thank you so much for a great show.
Yeah. Tommy stayed the whole time, bless his heart. This will be our wrap-up. Tommy, you want to say bye?
Hope we can talk again.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
Tommy's doing YouTubes too, so we'll try to all get you back on. Thank you, Doctor. I can't wait to talk to you next
I'm going to make it straight to the bathroom, so I got to go. I'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.